One's ready. Go! So you guys are going into special warfare assessment selection. It is an attributes-based selection model. What does that mean?
Guys, are we running right now to get fitter? Are we practicing running? Practicing.
I can't freaking...
So there's a holistic picture that we're looking for. The instructors are giving you input, and we're expecting an output. And everything is for a reason. If you guys haven't heard my spiel yet, everything that we do, every single exercise, has a connection to the job that you're trying to do. We don't want people at INDOC, Special Warfare Assessment Selection, whatever they're gonna call the new course when it inevitably changes somewhere down the road. I don't care what they call it. What I need is you to show me the raw materials for the things that I wanna build you into. Just like everything else, it's a crawl, walk, run.
I can run a keystone just like this. All the way to ATC, you never quit. All the way to ATC, you never quit.
18 Alpha.
Hey,
Heck
welcome
yeah.
back, everybody.
Which is
We're going to be
actually-
talking about skincare products on this next podcast with our good friend Arvis.
We actually are going to be talking about skincare with our good friend Arvis, because whatever he's doing, it works. We have our friend Arvis Owens Arvis Owens talking about something that's near and dear to his heart, and that is unfair application of the UCMJ and false allegations. It's a good one. It's something you definitely need to listen to. It's great. But before we do, are you feeling a little crappy? Are you old? Are you out of shape? Are you in one of those off-season periods of your life? Are you trying to get ready for a special operations pipeline, no matter what service that you could be going into, a high-risk job, something you need to be physically fit for? Are you just worried about the state of America and you might have to be super fit? We got the answer for you. Go over to the Ones Ready homepage. You see it on the screen right here. It's onesready.com. I want you to scroll down and I want you to find a little 18 Alpha Fitness. Kevin Edgerton, he's got everything you need to get back on your game, to get out of that preseason shape and into your season shape. He's got a great track record with helping people succeed in Air Force special operations. He was a physical fitness and a human performance optimization coach and subject matter expert inside of the Air Force Special Warfare pipelines before he struck out on his own to make his own way. So go over to 18alphafitness.com, check out his full suite of training programs, all the way from getting ready for a special operations selection, or maybe you're just an old guy. Maybe you love to do jujitsu and you want to strengthen your game with some kettlebells. Kevin's got everything for you. Go over to 18 Alpha Fitness. You can use our code or just tell them directly that we sent you. You can go to the website and sign up through there. We've got every single answer for you as far as physical preparation goes. Kevin Edgerton is that answer. Go to 18alphafitness.com. That's 18A Fitness.
So actually, go to onesready.com, use the link because he doesn't use 18 Alpha Fitness anymore.
Great. I
geez.
did a passable job right until I got the freaking website wrong. You know what I'm here for.
Promo code is correct.
Promo code is correct. Just sign up through the website. Use the promo code.
Go through our website, click on his stuff, and it takes you to like Trainerize, and then it's got all there. So
There you
I just
go.
want my wife to love me some more or like be impressed. Is this going to work?
It will work. Yeah.
Okay.
As a guy that's done multiple programs of Kevin, I will tell you
it will
the
work.
wife affection output. It usually happens like week 4, week 5 of the programming, because that's when you're starting to do really good and looking pretty beefy. So I support it.
All right, everybody, enjoy the next episode with Arvis. Later.
Okay.
Later.
I always prided myself when I was running the range. I would do it in like strip club DJ voice, because that always made the dudes like way more exciting. Like, now from the 5-meter line, you've got a bunch of studs getting ready for a simple failure drill. That's 2 to the chest, 1 to the head of the pelvis. Say when ready. It was always great. Hey, welcome back to the podcast, everybody. It's me. It's Peaches. It's Trent. It's our friend Arvis. We're going to get into why Arvis is here, but it's going to be something that you're going to really want to care about, because it's going to affect your entire military career unless Arvis gets the change that he is going after. So welcome to the podcast, Arvis. How are you doing today, my friend?
I'm good. Thank you guys for hosting.
Yeah.
Absolutely. We have this thing where if our friends ask us to come on, we say yes to absolutely everybody. We've never said no to a single person, as a matter of fact. If you hop in the comments and you think you can do it better than us, we'll invite you on. You might be right. We'll give you a spot on the podcast. I'll give you mine. I'm the least favorite person, so I don't care.
Okay.
Tell us a little bit about your background, Arvis.
I'm originally from a place called Beaumont, Texas. Grew up,
Yeah.
always wanted to join the military, jumping off a 1-story house with a sheet tied to my back, thinking I was an airborne ranger, but I was not. You got to
Wow,
bend the
stolen
knees
valor.
or you get hurt. You get
Stolen
hurt.
valor
Little
this
stolen
early, huh,
valor
bud?
from being a little kid, shooting each other's with BB guns, 1 pump, right? Because that was
Right.
pre-paintball. There was no paintball when I was a kid. went to the United States Naval Academy, graduated in 1995, wanted to be a fighter pilot, got to flight school, got to jet training, did not land on the carrier very well. That thing moves. And elected to do supply, which is the business side. Did that for 21 years total, but around the 18-year mark, I was falsely accused by a civilian coworker. I was court-martialed, found guilty, tried to advocate for them and myself, and now that's what I do on a non-paid basis, is try to get the military to change and do the right thing.
Holy crap.
And that's me. That's me in a nutshell. I'm a Capricorn, good looking.
You are absolutely good looking. Skin routine on point. You look great. You look like you're in your mid 30s, maybe 32, 35.
Wow.
Yeah, that's what's crazy.
Fantastic.
95.
Yeah.
I'm like,
Yeah, 52. Awesome. Thank you, guys.
Get out of here.
It's like
52.
cocoa butter. Cocoa butter.
Just looking just fantastic. Just one random question, man, before we hop into this deep episode.
Sure.
How hard is it to land on a carrier? It's got to be pretty tough, right?
It is. It was, you come in, it was a 4-ship formation. I think I was -2, the second plane, and then you break, and then you lose all that airspeed and you turn around. And my challenge was, I wasn't doing anything dangerous. I was doing the same thing every time. So when you turn in, it's scary as shit. And so I would be a little bit high, and I would stay a little bit high, and then I would catch the 3-wire. But what they want to see you doing is bracketing. Is if you're a little high the first time, they want you to see a little lower the next time. But high feels good, and low feels bad. And so they want you bracketing. So two things, both are bad. Either you don't see that you're making the same mistake, or you do see and you're not correcting it. So what happens is the first grade is good, but then the second grade's a little worse and a little worse and a little worse. And when you take the aggregate, you fail. You had to get a 2.5 at that time, and I think I got a 2.2 in your carrier grades. So for me, very hard. For some people, it's very easy. So I'll leave it at that.
I just can't imagine nighttime landing on a carrier.
This was day, but yeah, night would suck.
Yeah, that's what I mean. It's just.
I love how you brought up that he didn't get to nights. Like what an
nights
awful thing.
suck.
Wow, like even Trent's like, oh, he didn't make it to the night iteration. Like,
I didn't. Yeah, you got to get the day right, and then the night.
That is not easy. But I mean, that early failure, right? Like that had to suck. It was something you would wanted to do your entire time, but sometimes we just don't meet the mark, and you found a different way to serve, throughout the rest of your full career. Man, let's speed to the end. Let's hop right into it. So you were falsely accused by a coworker that led to a UCMJ process. As we all know, sometimes the process is the punishment in and of itself. So just walk us through what happened.
So, coworker, and I want to say I take responsibility to a degree. I'm married at the time. It was a civilian coworker. Flirtation back and forth. We had a couple of interactions at work. It was not going to be long-term. It was a short-term type situation. She accused me of sexual assault. It took about 8-9 months. I go to court-martial. I testify in my own defense. I find out why most people don't. Like you see in the movies, they don't. But I did. I was facing about 50 years. At the end of that court-martial, they gave me 0 years, but they did give me a dishonorable discharge. An officer gets a dismissal, and I was forced to register as a sex offender. So that's what happened there. But during sentencing, that same panel came back and says, we made a mistake. Can we revoke his guilty verdict for sexual assault? Because my accuser lied again during sentencing. And so you can't say lie in a military court. You have to say an inconsistent statement. That's bootleg for a lie. And the judge goes, well, she's been saying inconsistent statements the whole time, but that one was the straw. And so they said, hey, can we revote? And in a military court, you can't. So they were like, hey, yeah, we made guilty. I go to appeal. You have a convening authority. Mine was an admiral at the time, a 1-star. Several of those jury members wrote letters. And in the military, we call the jury a panel. They wrote letters saying, hey, we messed up. This guy's not guilty. Well, the convening authority said, well, we didn't have any letters. So it goes to appeal. They kick it back. And then they said, well, we lost them. And then they found them. And it was enough to overturn the guilty for sexual assault. But the convening authority, there was so much pressure because of Congress and Obama and Senator Gillibrand and stuff like that, that commanders were there. basically, if you guys are into sports, it's like going to the playoffs. They would look at your record on sex assault cases at the Senate Armed Service Committee level to see if you get promoted. I call it going to the playoffs. And if you didn't have the right record, then no playoffs. And so no relief from the appellate court, no relief from the convening authority. It goes to CAF, which is the Supreme Court for the military, and they refuse to look at it. I was put on the registry. I went to newspapers, you name it, to try and get information out there. Nobody wanted to talk. And again, you guys are extraordinarily brave for carrying this, because most people are full of fear because they don't want to talk about it, right? You know, they hide their eyes a little bit.
Yeah,
A lot of fear, a lot of fear out there. And so
we don't do that here.
So people start coming to me, right? People start coming to me saying, hey, I had the same problem. Army, Navy, Air Force, Marines, Coast Guard. What do I do? And so I said, you got to speak out. But a lot of people are fearful. They're fearful they'll be judged. They won't be believed. And I'm like, well, you got to come with some evidence. And so we start getting former investigators coming on board. I got a guy, former NCIS. OSI, a little harder to get. Those guys are shy. Former Army CID. And they start, because they feel bad. They're like, look, you're right. It happened, but we'll lose our career if we say anything. We start getting judges, prosecutors. We had a 4-star come forward, a 3-star quietly, who said, hey, look, we know it's happening, man, but Congress is on us. And so that's kind of what happened. And I got some quotes, for your audience, because I know how hard this is to believe. And before I get a chance to read those, I want to say that we support true victims. We don't want women harassed. We don't want them assaulted. We don't want them raped. We believe in true victims. The problem, though, is when you create an environment where an accusation is believed, even when it's not true. And I primarily work with sexual assault, sexual harassment, and domestic violence. I have a friend, white female, who got called racist, and she's not, right? So that's a false allegation too. No evidence. She was trying to correct one of her troopers. They called her racist, and she was punished for it, even though it's not true. Her husband's black, her son, but they didn't know that. So when they did the investigation and they find this out, they changed the charges so they can convict her on something else. Because they say, well, she's not racist. Well, that's what you said. That's what that person said. So really, this is about going, someone says something that's not true. You have evidence to show your side is true, and someone throws it out and says, we're going to convict you anyway.
Well, and more so, it's a look at the UCMJ, right? Like,
yes.
COVID did a whole lot to wake up the general public and to a probably an equal extent the military, right? The military is a pretty good representation of the general public because that's who serves in the military and an all volunteer force. But this is a nightmare scenario. We talk a lot about individual rights, and we have friends that'll tell you that you give up a little bit of your individual rights when you go in the military. Well, no, you don't. You just have to play by a different set of rules. But in this context, the UCMJ can be used. It's just vague enough to where egregious missteps and egregious miscarriages of justice can happen. And it's exactly for things like you're saying. Accusations are treated as proof, and the innocent until proven guilty, that line gets very blurry when you're talking about the UCMJ and how the military handles its UCMJ punishment. Sorry for interrupting, Peaches. I just wanted to get
No, you're good.
No, you're good.
It's frustrating because in Arvis, I don't know if you're familiar with our demographic, but our primary audience is like 15 to 35-year-olds that are wanting to join the military, and some of which who are actually serving. Other than our parents aren't our friends, so. But
okay.
So a lot of people don't know that in the military you are, and it's not supposed to be like this, but this is the way it's designed. You are guilty even after proven innocent. And because it starts a sequence of events. In your case, or in other cases, I'll just keep it vague, and because I don't know the exact details of how it happened with you, but like if you get accused of something, whether it's sexual assault or something like that, you will automatically get pulled. Sorry, I'm listening to an echo. So, you will automatically get pulled from any potential promotion, any school that you're in. You'll get removed from the position that you're in. and essentially ostracized within the unit because people don't want to, for lack of better words, touch you. They don't want to come near you because they don't want to be associated with it, because automatically is you're guilty, because all the actions being taken towards you are okay. Well, that's proven. You're guilty, and it can ruin your career when you end up being completely innocent. It's so frustrating. Why is the system designed to be guilty even if you're proven innocent?
So, great question, Peaches. Let me provide a little cream. I think it's because they have
Nobody
something.
clip that. Nobody clip that. We don't need that. Listen, you gotta. There's another thing that you gotta just really pay attention to. Let's say that you say something that really out of context would sound really bad. We have people that will put that out. Aaron Love Hate Club, shout out. So just don't clip the previous part.
All right.
Moving on.
Okay, so here's the deal. The military likes to use a term called good order and discipline.
Mm-hmm.
So they want to make an example of someone. I'm going to use the word to scare everybody else into compliance. That's my word. And so they intentionally make it more restrictive. And then you throw in the fact that there's political pressure a lot of times. So I was going to share a story about he was SEAL Team 6 guy, DevGru guy. He's falsely accused of sexual assault. The admiral, the 2-star Rear Admiral Lorge, in his case, wants to step in and dismiss the case, but he doesn't because of that political pressure, that good order and discipline. He's found guilty. The convening authority, Admiral Lorge, can throw it out. He doesn't. He sends that man to prison. And in the military, they want you to sign a confession. Even when he's like, I didn't do this. He says no. They put him in solitary confinement. They won't give him his medication. He's got PTSD, all these things. And eventually, Rear Admiral Lorge has a crisis of conscience. And he said, you know what, I did the wrong thing. So after, the guy's name's Keith Berry. Keith is released. Admiral Lorge writes an affidavit. I got a copy. I was going to read a line he said in it. And he writes, look, after he's retired, though, right? He doesn't want to say it out loud, right? When he's active duty.
Got a lot of courage.
A lot of courage from the sidelines. He says, as I considered whether to disprove the findings, I was also concerned about the impact to the Navy if I were to disprove the findings. At the time, the political climate regarding sexual assault in the military was such that a decision to disprove findings, regardless of merit, would bring hate and discontent on the Navy from the president, we're talking Obama, as well as senators, including Senator Kristen Gillibrand, Rear Admiral Lorge, U.S. Navy, retired. And so your question, Peach, is we are a reflection of society. A lot of times the military is a test bed for ideas, moral ideas, social ideas, and they throw it against the wall and see if it sticks. So you have a combination of things. You have the good order and discipline. We prosecute one really harshly to scare the rest.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have the political climate that factors into that too. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, it does. It's more of just it's extremely frustrating because, I even protect myself now. So I'm back, even though I'm retired, I'm back working on Nellis. My job now, several jobs before that, I've got to talk to a lot of people. A lot of people come to my office, whether it's to talk business, to talk just BS, or it's to talk about, hey, I've got this going on at home or whatever, how do I, promote and that kind of stuff. Right. And it doesn't matter. I always have my door either wide open or cracked because I am worried. Not like active worried about it, but there is always a possibility that somebody doesn't like what I have to say, or somebody is just like, you know what, F this dude, and could say something, and then I'm done because it's unfortunate. So, it is a bad problem, and I don't want to scaremonger here. It's not like every single person in the military has got to go around thinking like, all right, I don't talk to anybody. I just stay to myself. That's not the way it needs to be. I'm just saying that don't put yourself, if you can, don't put yourself in situations where your actions could be questioned.
Right, but that's the problem.
I
Is
know.
that we have created a toxic environment where you, as a person that is doing nothing wrong, in the back of your head, you know that a false accusation can pop up, some conversation that you did not have the intent that the other person received. And this speaks to like the larger, and it's funny that it dovetails perfectly with Obama, but in 2008 through 2010, it started gaining steam, but we really started seeing in 2011, 2012, the rise of safetyism, the rise of words or violence, the rise of microaggressions, where the intent of what was said does not matter, but the impact on the individual is held all above. And that is not how justice is done. How did we get to this toxic environment where the UCMJ is frightening law-abiding service members, Arvis? How in the world did we get that far down the road?
So I don't know if you guys remember the Me Too movement. You know, there was a there was a survey where it was Senator Gillibrand at the time. She took over Hillary Clinton's seat in New York. She's since won several re-elections. There was a survey that said, hey, do you feel harassed, assaulted, or whatever? And they looked at that snapshot. And what people do to bastardize statistics is they take that snapshot and they apply it to the whole group. And they said, well, if this is true, then this has to be true for the group. And then they looked and says, well, if all these people are getting harassed and assaulted in the military, how come I don't see more prosecutions and more convictions? So then the next step is they look there. And then the pressure ramps up. And they said, we want to see more. And so with the Me Too movement, it was you had, and again, all respect to women there are women who do go through this. I want to say that.
And
but
men.
It was, and men, you're
Yeah.
right. It was, we want to see more action. We want to see more prosecutions and convictions. And so that created the environment. And I know Peaches made the point. You're right. There's something called third-party harassment. So let's say you guys are telling a joke, an off-color joke, and someone not involved hears it, they can file charges against you. It's called third-party harassment.
I have a great example for that. A good friend of mine, an officer, was lifting in a gym with his lifting partner. They were doing deadlifts. He made a joke about maybe having some alone time later and how it was going to be a little bit different than normal because his hands were torn up from a deadlift. There was and I don't even know, like, we're talking like third party harassment here. I think this is technically fourth party harassment. So a girl that was in the area that was not part of the group where my friend was lifting heard this comment. She did not take offense to the comment. She did not feel, she knew that he was not talking to her. He said it to his friend. He maybe said it too loudly in a public area. It was a public gym. Got it. The friend of the girl that heard it was offended by what he said and filed a complaint off of the secondhand comment. It wasn't, I mean, she did not physically hear, she was not physically present for the event. That dude went through 2 years of having his line number for promotion held. His ability to command was in question. 2 years where finally somebody was like, wait a second. This was a third-party report that you did not say to this person. They did not say that they were offended. A friend of the person heard it and was offended on her behalf and filed a complaint. And that was the truth from the very beginning. The very first report was, my friend told me about a conversation that I wasn't present for. This person said something. I think that is sexual harassment or sexual assault. And the process was the punishment for that man for 2 years to get cleared.
Yes. I'll go even deeper than that real quick. But I'm sorry, Peaches, you were jumping in. The military, this was the last year of the Biden administration. In the military, they created a UCMJ law where sexual harassment is punished by 2 years in prison and a dishonorable discharge. And again, you asked about how does the UCMJ get this way? There's something called the National Defense Authorization Act. I'm sure you guys are familiar with it. It comes out every year. And then politicians add laws to it. So going back to that earlier question from Peaches, that law was added the last year of Biden's administration, and it started effective 1 January 2025. So when you keep adding laws like that in, there are some people who believe, I'll use your gym example, that if you look at somebody in the gym, you're harassing them, if you look too long. So I have a female friend who thinks that way, that if you look at her too long, you're sexually harassing her. And I asked her, I said, well, how long can I look? Like, is it 3 potatoes? Is it 4 potatoes? And she said 3 potatoes. but that's today. It could be 2 potatoes tomorrow. And
Well,
that's where we've gotten in society.
I'm
And
very
the
familiar
problem-
with the ceiling of my gym. I know exactly what all
Yeah.
of it looks like.
Well, the other
All right.
problem there too is when you start talking, it gets even murkier when you start talking about past events, right?
Mhm.
There was a past event that happened at the time, totally fine in the zeitgeist and the Overton window and whatever it is that you know, whatever visual thing you want to use. But now we may have different standards and people are applying to that to old events that have happened. And they're like, well, using today's standard for what I should feel offended by, this event that happened in the past would have offended me if I was the today person. So I'm going to go ahead and bring that one up. That gets even worse.
Well, the system is weird, right? And when we talk about like Senator Gillibrand, who is probably trying to do the right thing. We've talked about this before on the podcast. Is the microscope that is on the military, LEO, all these other places when it comes especially to these hot button topics like sexual harassment and sexual assault and all those other things. And so there is a lot of pressure to do something about it. I don't think she's never been in the military as far as I can tell from her page. She doesn't understand what progressive discipline means. That they make these things like very binary and black and white. And then you also have like the OSI CID folks who will open investigations, and they're under pressure to get convictions and all this other stuff. And I don't know how many times you've seen it where the investigation starts based off a complaint and ends up in a totally different place where they pull up all this dirt, like Aaron was saying, over like the past. There's no like range on it. Like there are no guardrails to keep them focused on the single complaint. They just go after everything, and they'll throw the kitchen sink at you to try to get a conviction.
Trent, I'm glad you mentioned that. So I'm going to give you an Air Force example. A young man I'm working with right now, he had one person, he had a bad date, a complaint, is that OSI talked to 170 women in his background, all the way back to high school. And so I call it phishing, is if they get one allegation and they know it's weak, they want to strengthen it. And so what you see is this young man, when I was a kid, we call him a playboy. They call him an F-boy now, I guess. I would say cavalier. Was he dating more than one woman at the same time? He was. He didn't say he was being exclusive. So what do you think happens when OSI talks to all of those women and says, hey, you realize he was dating her too? All of a sudden, that one allegation became 3.
And that became a pattern of behavior that they could support the initial allegation with, and then that's how they strengthen the case.
Right. And another thing is custody agreements, divorces, relationship is so even beyond a scenario Peaches mentioned where you're just talking to somebody, it's any relationship you had, they could come back. In the military, no statute of limitations. They can go back, just like you guys were saying, and go, you remember 10 years ago when you did this? And you're like, wait a minute, what? And I think the biggest one I've seen, 16 or 17 years they went back. And so here's what I tell everybody. I love the military. I said, don't get me wrong, I love them, right? I want them to do the right thing. Is that you can love something and not support what they're doing. You want to say something out loud. And that leads me to another quote. This was from the Air Force. He was the TJAG at the time. So background, in the case, another lieutenant general in the Air Force 3-star had elected to throw out a case. He said, and he elected to throw it out after 6 Air Force judge advocates said she has no credibility. No credibility. Her friends were like, she has no credibility. Her own friends. So the lieutenant general drops the case. The failure to refer the case to trial would place the Air Force in a difficult position with Congress. Absent a smoking gun, victims are to be believed and their cases referred to trial. And that's Lieutenant General Richard C. Harding. He was the TJAG, the Judge Advocate General of the Air Force at the time. That's his quote. That was the pressure that was on them. No matter what the evidence showed, hey, we want you to take these to court-martial, and we want a conviction.
Yeah,
Well,
we've seen this type of stuff within like our training command, right? Like when you flip the balance of power from one group of people to the other. Like in we went through a period of time in our training pipelines where the students had all the power. We had like QR codes everywhere. They could go in and make a single complaint. They could burn any instructor they want, right? Like it kind of started from a good place, right? They were like, well, we want to make sure that the students aren't getting hosed or whatever, hazed and all that other stuff. But the students, much like a large population of the military, they're not stupid. They can see what's happening. They understand the pressures, and then they can weaponize the system to get what they want, whether it's a PCS, whether it's any of this other stuff, whether they just want to see, somebody burn. Once you take the power away from the people at the lowest level, these are the types of things that are going to happen over and over again. And when you say victim, in my brain, I'm like, well, which victim are we talking about? Are we talking about the falsely accused, or are we talking about the person that made the complaint? And it's hard to catch up once that complaint's already in and convince people that you're the one on the wrong end of this.
Trent, I love that. Thank you for saying that. I'm gonna give you an example and support what you just said. Is we had someone who he got asked by a female to help her with pull-ups. So he does the way she asked, and then she accuses him of sexual harassment because of the way he's helping her do pull-ups. Now, that did not go to trial. They investigated him for 2 weeks, but they rolled him back in his training pipeline, still with the allegations. And so the other thing you said with victim is they will give someone the victim status without any investigation being done. And you're right. I believe if you're falsely accused, you're the victim. And that's why you'll hear me say accuser a lot of times, because unless the evidence supports it, they're just an accuser. They're not a victim. And you're right. In training pipelines, we saw a ton of it where it's because there were incentives. If you want a PCS to another base and you're a victim, you can.
Yep.
The other thing is if you want 50 to 100% VA disability, you can. If you say you're raped, you check that box, they can't question you.
Yep.
I have someone
know that. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, I have
gotta
someone
go redo my paperwork real quick.
Look, redo your paperwork. You check that box.
I've already got 100%, but I mean, I'll throw it.
Right. Well, you're good then.
But
I'll give this example.
That's a joke. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. So I have a female who worked at the physical evaluation board for one of the services, and she gave me the example. There was someone who said that they were raped in Kuwait on deployment. Well, when she checked her service record, she had never been to Kuwait. But she's not allowed to question it. So she goes to her supervisor. She's like, wait, she never went to Kuwait. So she just changed the paperwork, and then she got the disability. But I know combat veterans who have PTSD so bad they don't want to talk about it. And then because they get rejected and they get put in an endless loop of no. And you're like, is that what you really want? So I'm glad Trent brought that up, because there are incentives. Any misconduct you've done, if you're a rape victim, are forgiven. You want a PCS to another base? Okay. And then you throw in civilians, they get paid, I think it's 3 years, and they get 3 years of medical benefits. And then the military side, they qualify for something called MST, military sexual trauma. So PTSD that's tied to it. So Trent is exactly right. There are incentives in a lot of cases to come forward with the allegations, especially when you don't have to support them.
Dude, that's well, and I'm trying not to get emotional over here because I get upset, right? But the reason, and I know people don't want to talk about this stuff, and there's a reason people don't want to talk about it. But the reason that I get really upset about all of these things is, I'll tell you a story. One time, our first sergeant at my old unit, she was giving us the sexual assault briefing or whatever, and we weren't paying attention. And we were like making jokes and all that other stuff. And she got frustrated with us, right? And so we had our secretary at the unit. And there's always that one person at the unit that holds everything together. Everybody knows this. Her name was Pam. We love Pam. Without Pam, we were all going to jail for paperwork violations, right?
You had a secretary named Pam?
I'm sorry?
You had a secretary named Pam?
Or Pan? I don't know. Pam?
It doesn't matter. She was the greatest person in the world.
Did she really like one of the salesmen and have like a 9-year like move to where they get married? And was Michael Scott your boss? No? All right. This is an office joke. Continue.
Yeah. You're ruining the story. Anyway, so the first sergeant that was giving this briefing, she looks at us and she gets mad because we're not paying attention to this briefing. And she goes, well, what are you going to do if someone actually did something to Miss Pam? Right. And we all stop and we go straight face. We're like, well, we're going to kill that person and you're never going to find the body. Like, we take that, the real victim, the actual victim, very, very seriously. And what is frustrating about this is we're being forced to look at all these things and actually play the game to try to figure out, like who is the actual victim here and all this other stuff, because we can't trust the people because of the way that the system is designed right now.
That's right. Trent, I love that you brought up training, so I'll bring up another one. So this was also done in military training. They were telling people that if you have one drink, you can't consent. So I want you to think about that. One drink, but it's got a caveat. So if you're the penetrated person and you have one drink, you can't consent. But if you're the penetrator,
Mm-hmm.
you're still responsible. And so with a lot of these cases, they kept bringing up training, the SAPR training and all the sexual assault training. They were telling people legitimate, if you have one drink, you can't consent. So a lot of the allegations were, wait, I can drive legally in any state or territory after one drink, but I can't consent to sex. So I tell people, you go out for your birthday or your anniversary with your special someone, you have one drink, are you now a rapist? So that was what they were training people. And so I got guys convicted because the person said, well, I had one, I had two, I had three over 5 hours. Therefore, I'm not responsible. I didn't consent. So it's rape.
It's one of those things you just don't understand, because you always try to apply common sense. You're like, this doesn't pass the number one question of common sense. You bring up a very clear example that there's an incongruity in the way that we treat both parties who are supposed to be treated exactly equally. Right. The accuser is the accuser until we provide the evidence that they are in fact a victim. And then the person who is accused then becomes the perpetrator or becomes the ist or whatever label it is that we're going to put on that person. But not until then. I feel like we speed right to that thing. The most useless and confusing training I think I ever went through was the bystander training that we used to have to go through. And it was an outgrowth of the movement. And it was the red dot, green dot thing where every single time I ever got this training, so I don't think they do it anymore, but it was like 5 or 6 years in a row. I sat in this room, and for the first 20 minutes, they told me how I was most likely to be the rapist in the room every single time. You're a red dot because you won't engage in this scenario, because of their little question bank where they're like, would you engage in this scenario or not? Some of them were super easy, like non-logic trap sort of arguments. Your friend is too drunk. She obviously, looks like whatever. Of course, I'm going to go grab that dude and be like, bro, you're about to do something stupid. I'm going to slap you upside the head. We're going to leave and we're going to go to the next bar. Of course, that's how our culture is. Like, we are protective, parochial by nature. Like, we take, just like Trent was saying with Pam, you have people that you just naturally grow protective over. Sometimes it's the small support dude that you take out with. He's a cool guy. He's just a little dude. Well, the team immediately acts like a big brother to that person and won't let anybody else screw with them. And the same thing happens to the females that work in the unit. You take on a natural big brother thing. So for 6 or 7 years of Air Force training, I was told for the first 20 minutes of that briefing, nope, you're a red dot. You're just as bad, because if you're a bystander that doesn't engage in this scenario in the way that we want you to engage, you're going to be labeled as a problem. I have a real world example of how exactly that doesn't match. To speak to your incongruencies, I was named the person of interest in a sexual assault issue way back in the day, early in my career, because I'm the one that called 911 because a female, a good friend of mine, she walked out of my friend's room where I was. She was talking to one of her friends, and the conversation evolved to Ryan, which was the friend of mine, sexually assaulted the girl that was in the room. And it was a big party. People started hearing it. It started to be one of those things where there was a bigger group talking about it. I was like, I'm not playing this game. I called security forces. I was like, hey, this issue is happening. I need you guys to get here, and I need documentation of all this thing. I knew exactly where it was going. It couldn't be one of those things where the next day I'm getting pulled into somebody's office and be like, oh, this person, whatever. So I reported the event. I was not involved in the event. I was the one that was like, hey, we need to do this. 10 years later, I show up to Kirtland Air Force, it was 7 years later. I showed up to Kirtland Air Force Base, and I was doing a background check for my child at the school. I got this weird call from my ex. She was like, you need to call the school. I called the school and I was like, hey, what's going on? I just want to go on a field trip for my 4-year-old daughter, I think at this point, 3-year-old daughter. I said, hey, I want to go on this field trip. What's the deal? And they were like, you have been named as a person of interest in a sexual assault case from 7 years ago. I had to go through a year of fighting these people. And everybody I talked to would look at the record and go, listen, man, it's pretty clear that I wasn't even interviewed. It wasn't even my issue. This was figured out to be a false allegation almost immediately, and it was turned off, and we went on with life. Even after OSI tried to do the phishing thing where they talk to everybody in everybody's life and try to find some other crime. Luckily, that didn't happen, but still, I wasn't even aware that I was ever entered on the list, and I wasn't taken off of it when the case was closed. So then I had to go back through almost a year of that process, which is the punishment. just to get my name cleared so that my daughter's school didn't think that I was some sort of sexual assault, person of interest. It's crazy, but it doesn't make sense. That girl doesn't have any restrictions on her career. I guarantee she wasn't held back to go through a process to fight to clear her good name. That didn't happen. And that's the issue.
That's an incredible story, Aaron. Thank you for sharing that. That is, and that's what we're fighting against. It's you were the hero in that scenario. You did the right thing. You made the call, but you got treated like a criminal. And it's, can I say bullshit? I mean, you guys.
Oh yeah, no, you're good.
All right,
yeah, we say bullshit all the time.
All right, so that is bullshit on steroids.
Yeah,
that's bullshit on steroids, and which leads me to my next quote. As General Dempsey and I stated during our reconfirmation hearing, the military services have investigated and prosecuted a number of sexual assault cases after civilian authorities either did not pursue a full investigation or formally declined to prosecute. Vice Admiral James Winnefeld Jr., Vice Chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff. And he's talking to about General Dempsey, who was the Chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff at that time. So I want your audience to imagine that for a second. The civilian police have said there's not enough evidence or there's no evidence. And what this letter went to a senator, is saying is, we're prosecuting cases that civilian law enforcement said no to, and we're getting convictions. But no one asked how. How? By holding people accountable who are not.
Man, so we're going to talk about how to fix it. So this is going to be the call to action, everybody. I'm going to bring up Arvis has a change.org. It's change.org/falsely accused. You can go check it out. Falsely accused and wrongly convicted former service members. We need your help. Could you get the actual URL out there for us, Arvis?
Sure. It's www.change.org/unjust UCMJ together. www.change.org/unjust UCMJ. And I'm going to tell you what else you can do is you can share this video to everyone you know. Because every time a video like this comes out, more people come to us, politicians see it, military people see it, and change is more likely to happen. So again, I want to thank you guys for having the bravery to do this. Share this video to everybody you like and even people that you don't like. That guy at the bus stop, share it. That guy who's homeless, send it to him too. He doesn't have a phone. I bet he's got an email address. Send this video to them. And thank you for that.
Well, good. I just signed it. It took me literally 10 seconds to do. It was free. It had autofill from my Chrome, so I didn't even have to type my little name in there. So that's what I'm asking you all to do right now. Go to change.org. Go over and find Arvis's project. Arvis, one more time, change.org/unjust
UCMJ.
Go sign
and like
it right
I said,
now.
And share this video. Share this video to your enemies, like anybody you can think of, because the more people who hear it, they have the courage to come forward. I thank Aaron for sharing that story with us. I thank Peaches. I thank Trent, because a lot of people, when they hear other people's experiences, then they find the courage. They find the courage to say, wait a minute, this happened to me. I will tell you, I'm starting to have victims advocacy groups for women come to me and say, hey, look, we know this is a problem. In fact, I'll give you this example. There was someone who used to work for a military-centric victims advocacy group. I won't name the group, but she resigned because they were pushing cases that they knew to be false. And she was the one who shared with us that they had private Facebook groups, how to win your MST, military sexual trauma case with zero evidence. So they were coaching people to do it. And so when you hear it, you should be disgusted. You should be angry. You should want better. I tell people, look, you love your daughter, but do you also love your son? And I said, you want someone to protect your son and your son's rights. It's that scenario you mentioned where they put a red dot on you and says you're more likely to be a rape just because you won't do some exercise that they came up with, that somebody pulled out of their ass, because they needed something to do. I mean, think about what that does to somebody.
Well,
I mean, I wanted to get up and walk out of there for you. I was imagining that in my head, and I'm just like,
Every
You
year.
want to slap
About 5
somebody.
years in a-
This will make it even more funny because it went on for 5 years, and the Air Force paid $1.6 million to this company to develop Green Dot and roll it out for 5 years. $1.6 million.
That was at, remember the videos they used to play? And we're just totally, like, it was at the gym. And it was like this little, like this very brief interaction. They were like, is this person appropriate or inappropriate? And you look at it and be like, I don't know. Dude said, are you done on a machine at a gym? Feels pretty good to me. And they're like, oh yeah, bad news. You're a rapist. But then we figured out like the rules. And every single time you just be like, nah, completely inappropriate. And even on the ones that you were wrong, they'd be like, you know what? So this one was meant to be an appropriate interaction, but I can totally see how it would be inappropriate if you think it's inappropriate. So we figured that out literally right away. So then everything was like, no, not up in here, man. No, that wouldn't fly. You're not allowed to ask if somebody's done on a gym machine. That's harassment. And the chick was just like,
wipe the machine down after you.
The chick ended up like telling us we did a good job. Like we're trolling her during this thing. Like everything is terrible and we're the worst person on the face of the planet. And she's like, wow, you guys are really emotionally intelligent as a squadron. And we're like, we hate you. We hate you and what you represent. So, man, from training to output to changing the way that military justice is carried out. Arvis, what's your hope with the project? What do you want to see at the completion of this very righteous initiative that you got working?
So the first thing is balance, right? Is nobody gets that label that Trent said, that victim label, until a thorough investigation, a fair investigation's been done. That's one. Number two, I want them to look at these laws and go, does this make fucking common sense? And if it doesn't, you make it make common sense. And that goes to training, environment, scenarios, all of it. And number three, I want you to go back and correct all of the mistakes you made. I use this metaphor. I said, imagine someone burned 1,000 houses to the ground because there were rats. Yeah, there were some rats, but you burned the fucking house down. And you go, well, today I'm not going to burn any more houses down, right? I might destroy your car, but no more houses.
Yeah.
Should they go back and fix that? And that's number three. You go back and fix it. And I believe what was done in public can't be undone in private. You admit it. You take accountability. Hey, look, we fucked up. We messed up. We shouldn't have done this. We're sorry. We love your sons and your daughters, and we're going to make a system that's balanced. And then the lastly is that Congress and the political parties get the message is balance. Is don't mess with the system in a way that's going to do this. And so those are my big pie in the sky goals for all of this. I was going to share with you, there's a podcaster who is in the military. He's got millions of followers. He was falsely accused. He came to me last summer.
No way.
And he won't carry this topic on his show. He won't carry it. He was falsely accused. We got the charges dropped. Everything goes away because he's fearful. He's scared that the audience won't support him. Like he gets tens of thousands of dollars a month from social media.
Because I feel like he assaulted me too.
I'm not going to give his
I'm just
physical
kidding. I'm
description.
sorry.
Right. But that's the crazy part, that is we have people coming forward saying this is happening.
Yeah.
And you have to change the environment. And it goes to the point you guys are making, is training and the laws, the UCMJ laws. Those are the two biggest things that they can change to get people to think right. And so it saddens me. I'll tell you one last Air Force story, because you guys are Air Force, you'll appreciate it. The Air Force prosecuted an E2 because he had a sex doll on his bed in the barracks. So they were doing an inspection. Last name Roca, if you want to Google it, because it's up for appeal. They see this sex doll and they said it has childlike features. And so they don't do Article 120, which is a normal sexual assault. They do 134, indecent conduct.
Yeah.
And they prosecute this guy. He admits he did have sex with a doll, and the doll's smaller. Bought it from China. Said he couldn't afford the bigger one or something like that. Maybe the barracks room was tiny. He couldn't fit it in. He got 90 days in the brig. He got a bad conduct discharge, I believe. And let's see, what was the else? On appeal, the Air Force Court of Appeals said, bullshit, throw it out. The Air Force took it to CAF, the highest court, and says, no, we want it. So then they reinstated. So the Air Force Court of Appeals looked at it again and said, no, this is bullshit. And the Air Force is still fighting to convict this guy, to make his conviction stick. So they're using money, tax dollars, because this guy had relations with a doll they think has childlike features. So that's the crazy
after
story.
multiple appeals were thrown at.
Yes.
Get
Yeah.
out of here.
Yeah. Look, you can look it up. Your audience can look it up. Guys, Rocha, R-O-C-H-A, I think is the name. He was an Air Force E2. And I talked to an Air Force JAG friend of mine, and I went, because all the services did it, Army, Navy, Air Force, Marines, Coast Guard. Air Force seems to be especially into this. And what the Air Force JAG friend of mine said is, hey, Arvis, remember when they looked at the number of prosecutions and convictions? The Air Force had the lowest number. So it's almost like you're running a race and you got to run faster than everybody else to show
numbers. They want numbers and they want convictions, which is why they changed. You're talking about the 1 January 2025. They want that stuff. And the problem is there's no repercussion to the false accuser either. They get their expedited transfer to another base. They can continue on their business, even if it was found that they were lying. And then usually this is habitual too. These folks, these accusers will falsely accuse once, and then they'll do it later on in their career too. And it never, the courts or whatever you want to call it, never ties the two together and go, hey, wait a minute, this happened before and it turned out to be false. This one we at least need to look at with some skepticism and going through it. And that's, so I'm going to change topics slightly because you brought up Article 134 right now with everything that's going on with the argument between freedom of speech and Charlie Kirk and active duty members that have gone online and posted about things. And you mentioned good order and discipline. There's a movement now to go after a lot of these active duty members for saying things about like, hey, he got what he deserved, or whatever it happens to be, right? They're not in uniform. They're just, obviously they have an account. They know that they're military, maybe in the past, or they say they're military or whatever, but they're trying to go after them now for saying things online. And I don't know how I feel about that, because I still uphold the First Amendment higher than what the military says I can or cannot say.
No, I hear what you're saying. That's a very interesting topic. Is your heart goes out to someone, you don't want anybody killed for disagreeing, for having a belief. What I tell people, peeps, is like, I'm married. My wife and I don't always agree. Is that you can love someone and not always agree what they say and what they believe. And so violence is not the answer. It's to come together and come up with a solution. So I imagine the military has a tough thing to think about, is because what you don't want to do, I think, is say things that might encourage others to do that thing as well. That's the balancing act they have to figure out. It's like, I was surprised to see some of the social media posts about people celebrating this man's demise. And I was like, this man he was a father, he was a husband. And so you're right. It's balancing the First Amendment, and it's, some people are clinically insane, but they haven't been discovered yet. And so it is what you say can influence them to become a copycat. Like I'm very curious to find out, the shooter in this case, the killer, is what his mindset was. Like, how does he go from, Joe, all American student, to this? So that's why it's really hard, I think.
I don't know how deep you want to go, but I already got your answer, homie.
All right. Yeah, look.
It's a different. Yeah, it's a different platform, man. We don't follow me over at Aaron Loves America or over at the War Room if you want to talk about that stuff. But that's
it's just the when we start talking about the UCMJ, right, and we start talking about good order and discipline, and we start talking about, hey, we got false accusers out here doing stuff, and it ruins my career and any chance I ever had, and even after it finds out that it's not true. My career was probably stalled by 2 to 5 years at that point, if I made it out on the other side of it. If I made it out on the other side. Right. So, and that's why I brought it up. I know I kind of deviated there, but I just because that was a discussion yesterday that I'm seeing by a bunch of retired and active duty and somebody who is married to a congressman asking for names, like asking for names of people who they've seen and going, hey, yeah, we're gonna fry these dudes with Article 33 and 134. I'm like,
Peaches, let me say this. Let me say this, Peaches, is the UCMJ is designed to get you if they want
Yes.
to get you. I will say that is if you spit in a uniform, most people don't know, they can get you for that. And so if somebody wants to get you with the UCMJ, that they can. And that's what when that letter from Vice Admiral Winnefeld, that's what he was saying to the Senate is, hey, look, they didn't pursue it, but we did, and we got convictions. He just doesn't say how. And it's because there are so many rules and laws embedded in the UCMJ, is if they choose to go after it, they will get a conviction, and it will ruin your life. You'll get titled. Last story, I've got men who were found not guilty at court-martial. They're fine, but they get something called titled. Do you guys know what that means? So what titling is they put you in a database that all law enforcement can see. So FBI, NCIS, and so in civilians, they don't title you until after you're found guilty at trial. But in the military, when they start an investigation. So you start an investigation, they title you, right? So your name goes in the title block in this thing. And you got found not guilty, they don't automatically remove that titling. So the men who come to me, and it's mostly men, I've only had one woman who was falsely accused. They tried to buy a gun and they couldn't because you're titled. They tried to work in law enforcement. You can't because you're titled. You tried to work because you were former special forces, but now you can't enter certain countries because you're titled. I'm talking about you, UK, Canada. And so that's the craziness that the UCMJ offers. If somebody wants to get you, they can get you. And I haven't even mentioned non-judicial punishment where there's even a smaller threshold to get you, right?
Yeah, well, the UK is not really a real country anymore. So,
not anymore.
I do want to say that to go against the grain a little bit from like a historical context, right? I think if you look at this, the narrative is that all these women were in the military and around the military were sexually assaulted and harassed for years and years and years and years, and they were all afraid to come forward because of the environment that they were in. So how do you fix this while also not creating an environment narrative-wise, whether it's true or not, where the victims, the actual victims who we deeply care about, are not frightened to come forward and lodge these complaints?
Trent, that's a great question, and you're right. Body cameras for everybody with audio all the time. Look, that's the answer. Is instant replay. Is you need to have a 360 body camera on at all times with audio. So think about it. Is you watch? I don't know if you guys are a sports guy. I'm from Texas. I'm a Cowboys fan. Is how many games have you seen where the refs missed something or they made a bad call? And so that's what we're talking about. Is there are legitimately women and men who are victims, and so the deal is 360 cameras with audio all the time. And I think it'll get better. I think it'll get much better if you did that. But is that realistic? So it's a very hard question.
Yeah.
What's that?
I can't tell if you're joking or not. I was like, I'm not.
Well, no. The 360.
Yeah.
It's what I tell men to do, honestly, because they come to me and they say, "Oh, how do I protect myself?" I said 360 camera, and they think I'm joking, and I'm like, "No." But it's.
I've done the same thing in my office. Like when the times that I have had to shut the door because they're like, no, I need to shut the door. I have things in my office that can take video and audio just because I want to protect myself.
So Trent, I'm going to give you this example. In May, there was a case, National Guard, Air National Guard out of Pennsylvania. So she's enlisted, he's an officer, he's a doctor. They go out on a date, they have sex. Is the police see the parked car, they bust them, and then, no problem. And then their unit finds out. And so the unit comes to them because they're looking to charge them with fraternization, right? Yeah. Not sexual assault. And then she claims, I was raped, I was sexually assaulted. So everything stops, an investigation starts. And this is civilian police in Pennsylvania who did it. She recorded the sex on her phone. And so I believe Pennsylvania is a two-party state, so you have to have both people's permission to record. So she gets charged with taking the recording, but the recording shows that it was consensual. Is that her own recording that she illegally took shows that it was consensual, and she sent it to her girlfriends and was like, oh, this guy's, da-da-da-da-da, and she's ready to do it again. And so if they hadn't got her phone with her recording to show it was consensual, Trent, what happens to that guy?
Oh, he's done.
Right. So that's the hard part, is when you have a he said, she said, or he said, or anything like that, it's who's the referee, who's the tiebreaker, right? And so she was found guilty of making a false statement to police as well as the recording. What do you think her punishment was?
Nothing.
On the military side, nothing.
No, not the military. They both got kicked out of the Guard. It was civilian side. She get punished.
Nice.
What do you think it was?
Nothing.
She got 30 days in jail and I think 22 months probation, and that's it. What would have happened to him if
Jail,
she
10
hadn't
years.
made that illegal recording?
Yeah.
If she hadn't texted that? So how does that guy now he both got kicked out of the Guard, again, fraternization, and I mean he resigned. I think he resigned out of the Guard. I think she may have been put out, but he's still being harassed by it. And so what I tell people, Trent, is none of the guys I represent are perfect. But see, the other side will argue and say that there is no perfect victim. Then why does the accused have to be perfect to demand justice? And it's really hard when it's just one word against the other. One last case is I had someone who, in the case she says, well, I was drugged. Well, they did a toxicology report. No drugs in her system. Hey, I drank too much. She told her best friend she only had one drink. He still got convicted. How does he protect himself from that? And so you're right, Trent. There are legitimate victims who don't want to come forward. And so how do you create an environment for them so that they do? I don't know the answer. So that answer with the camera was serious and not serious at the same time. It was, I tell men all the time that it's the only way that might protect you is to have that camera with audio so people can hear it and go, wait a minute, you said it was okay. I have a man, Army case. He's having sex with a girl. She's on top of him, cowgirl scout. Her best friend is in the bed. Now he's trying to get her to become part of a menage a trois situation, and she doesn't want to, but she's
I'm glad we held
there.
the spicy stuff for the end. This is great.
Right.
Jeez.
So her best friend is in the bed. She's right. I'm like, come on now. When the lady starts to orgasm, her best friend decides to leave the room. So that's the trigger, right? If she didn't get there, then maybe she stays. So she leaves the room. Somebody else tries to come in the room. The lady shoos that person away. So the guy thinks everything's okay. 6 months later, he gets charged with rape. Why? Again, this is my belief. What the evidence shows is she has a fiance that's not the man she was having sex with. He finds out about the sex with the party. This is true. We can show it. And then he says to her, if you really were raped, you need to file charges. And she does. And he gets sent to prison. I think 5 years he got. So think about it. It's, wait a minute. Your best friend testified that, no, everything was okay. Her best friend testified. But this guy still got found guilty. And so Trent, the biggest thing is how to balance that. You have to, is that there are legitimate ones, but then you can't create an environment where it's this. And guys, it happened on college campuses too, right? And so most people don't understand that. Is Obama wrote a Dear Colleague letter in like 2011 or 2012. And so universities were scared of getting their funding pulled. So it's cases that weren't accepted by police. There's an administrative process in colleges. They're giving this person a lawyer. They're giving this person evidence that this person can't see. And then the person who investigated gets to decide, and this person can't cross-examine any witnesses or look at any evidence in advance. So that happens then. Betsy DeVos comes in under President Trump. She was Secretary of Education, and she changes it. All she does is, if you give them a lawyer, you have to give him one. They balance it. And then what happens when Biden comes back? Bam. And then Trump comes in office? Bam. So what happens in 2028, Trent, when a new
JD
president
Vance gets
comes
elected?
in?
Nothing. We're good.
Well, so that's the crazy part, is that it happened in universities too, is I have a hard time getting those parents to come forward because they're scared. Is even when their son gets found innocent, there's newspaper articles. They can't get jobs. They can't find housing. They can't date anybody because women will think, hey, this guy, you did it. Well, you just got out of it, but it doesn't mean you didn't do it. Just like what Aaron mentioned, the red dot, it's once you have that label on you, even when you're exonerated, it's still there. Peach just said that too. It follows you. Is that we've got people exonerated, but it took 2, 3, 4 years, and they're behind their peers. They didn't get training. They didn't go to school. They didn't get promoted. It's hard to be balanced, but you can't be corrupt. You just can't corrupt the system like that.
Yeah.
So that's the hard part. Trent, you're right, Trent. I don't want to beat up on you. You are right. Is that you have to have balance, and it's hard to do that. But we have to do things that make sense. What's that?
Yeah, I'm just asking questions. But like, yeah.
No, you're right. You're right.
The next level is media. Like to this day, if I was on the Duke lacrosse team, I wouldn't tell anybody about it. You know what I mean? Like,
right.
That's the way it is.
Right. Last quote. This was from, at the time, he was the chief trial judge of the U.S. Air Force. He said, "We can't figure out how to get consent these days. And now it's not enough to get consent to have sex." Colonel Vance Spath, U.S. Air Force chief trial judge. He said that in the transcript of, his name is Robert Andy Condon. He was an Air Force OSI agent. He was convicted and sentenced to 30 years. He's still in prison. His mother's a police officer. She hired 2 private detectives before she believed her son, who both came back. And it turned out the Air Force female, primary his accuser, she had a conviction, a felony conviction, that they have refused to give him the evidence until the day before the convening authority's action. And since he didn't have it in trial, he could not use it on appeal. And so that's the type of stuff is that you got the head trial judge of the Air Force saying consent is not enough. Then what is?
To make light of it, I'd say Dave Chappelle got it in 2000, 2001, where if you guys haven't seen that skit, where there's a contract signed, like he stops everything and he goes, "Hey, wait a minute, I'm gonna need you to sign this."
Yeah,
and to your point about the 360 video, I mean, I've told it on here before. There was like 5 or 6 guys at a unit that had a thing with one chick, and she ended up having she said that they raped her and everything like that. And one of the guys actually filmed it, and then you could see her in the film, like begging for it, and ended up like exonerating the rest of all the guys. But it still ruined their career. They got kicked out of the military because it took a while for it to happen, and they still were marked with these guys did this.
It ruined that entire unit. They fired the commander over it. They had people that were just absolutely pilloried. This thing was, the second that it broke, all of these dudes were guilty, and it was a chance to be like, see, this is what happens on special operations teams. And it was 2 years. A commander got fired over it. He got removed from his position over it. These dudes...
It wasn't even... He was just the commander of the unit.
He was just the guy that was in charge, and the AFSOC was like, "No, you're gone."
So I'm glad you guys mentioned that about the commander getting fired. Is the way the military does accountability is he should have known. He should have been like Nostradamus, and he should have known, even though and he should have done something in advance to stop it. Well, even though it was consensual and they were off duty, it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. But that's the type of pressure they created. And these commanders were under. So I don't want to dismiss anything that the military did. I will say that they were pressured to do it. They didn't just pull it out of their hat to do it. And then I tell people, look, people who are interested in joining the military, I still say I enjoyed the military. It is amazing. I said, what I want you to do is ask the question, hey, what are you doing about false accusations? Right? Just ask that question. And be careful, because it could be you, right? It could be an administration switch and it's the wrong administration, let's say, and then all those laws are still on the books. They may not use them at the second, but they still can. And so if this was a movie, it would be hard for me to believe, right? But if I hadn't seen all the things, and they suppress the media stuff. We've gone to mainstream media And DOD spends billions in advertising dollars.
Mhm.
Nobody wants that cut off. I've had reporters say, look, Arv, you ain't worth 30 million. And I'm like, what? I'm cute as hell. I'm worth 30, 32. They're like, no, DOD they've upped their buy. They've done this. And so you can't compete with that. They want to suppress the message because it'll impact recruiting. I call it the 4 R's: recruiting, retention, reputation, and resources. Talking money. If you touch the 4 R's, people are not happy with you. So there's that.
Man, the only way that we're going to change it is we're going to have to break the system, everybody. And you're going to do that by going to change.org. Find Arvis's change.org petition out there.
Yeah.
Sign it. It takes 2 seconds. It's free. It didn't take it. Hit us with that URL one more time because I can't remember because I'm stupid.
www.change.org/unjust. That's UNJUST UCMJ. And please share it. Put it on your social medias. Again, anywhere you can get it out. And importantly, share this video so that people hear it. And I am available. If you're falsely accused, holler at me. Have evidence, though, to prove it. And share this video so that people hear it, they understand it, and they at least ask the question. Especially parents, especially people who want to join the military. Ask the question before you join. And listen to the answer, and then think about what you expected to hear that you didn't. And that's all I ask, right? Sign the petition, share it if you can. Share this video and watch it. And ask the question before you join, or if you're considering it.
And that's why we're here. We're here to give you everything that you need to succeed. Sometimes it's not great stuff. Sometimes it's stuff that we just want to protect you. And that's why we're here. That's why we brought Arvis on. Arvis, thank you so much, not only for your service, but your continued service to protect people that are actively serving from unjust accusations or punishment. Man, we really appreciate it. Thanks for everything you're doing. Everybody else, go check out the link tree. You can find us everywhere. Go to onesready.com. Pick yourself up a sweet shirt like this so that when you're not the new media and you're speaking out on issues that the DOD won't let you, or you're coming here, you can feel like you're part of the team. So go over to onesready.com. Check us out there. Share this episode. Like it. It's free. It doesn't take any of your time. Turn on that subscribe notification so that you get a sweet notification anytime we're doing stuff like this so you don't miss anything. We appreciate it. Arvis, thanks again one more time. Everybody else, we'll see you next time.
Thank you, guys.